great honor to be here with all of you. And, T.S. Eliot says it best with a quote, and it is, if you do not have the strength to impose your own terms upon life, then you must accept the terms that life offers you. And what does that mean? What it means to me is I can either believe in what homophobic people say, or I can create a history for myself and a future for myself. I can either believe in self-destruction and all of these negativities that I hear a lot of homophobic politicians say all the time, or I can create a life for myself to live, a positive way of living. And so what does that mean? Well, This Shadow Follows Me is the title of my book. A shadow is, of course, described as something very dark, cold. The shadows in this story follow the characters in a way that perceiving homophobia, suicide, self-destruction, drug addiction, sexual addictions, and ultimately giving up on yourself. So This Shadow Follows Me, in a basic brief novel summary, is composed of true life events of my personal manuscripts. It is fiction novel of Alec Andrews and the friends and family that faltered around him. Alec tells his life story at the deathbed of Troy in hopes that he can make his life feel better, and make him feel better for his own losses. So Alec's life story basically lurks with self-destruction. From a family that drove him to basically crucify himself with their own religious, homophobic beliefs. So will he basically be able to find the strength to survive, or will he ultimately give up? And it all derives from a dream that Alec Andrews had. In that dream, he killed himself. And he went to a place where he had to relive his life over again. And they basically told him, you have to relive your life over again, or you're going to have to and not make the same mistakes, or you will die and have to relive your life over again and over again and over again, and without being able to change things. And ultimately, to me, that's a hell, you know. And it's actually a dream that I had when I was about 7 years old, and it kind of created the imago, the image of me writing this novel. So This Shadow Follows Me ultimately derives around homophobia and what it actually causes. And we all know what it causes. I think there's a lot of people here that have experienced exactly just that. You know, there's a lot of stories recently in the media of teens killing themselves, and it's heartbreaking, but it has been happening way before the media. You know, I had a friend who killed himself right out of high school, you know, and the media didn't pick up on it. You know, and I'm glad the media is talking about it, but this is something that we need to discuss. We need to talk to each other and prepare each other and give each other strength so that we can see the signs and tells that this could be potentially happening. And a lot of the self-destructions are, you know, alcoholism or drug addiction, or even a person giving up on themselves. And seeing these things in ourselves as well as others, we can turn things around and be a very positive person. And there's a lot of stigmas that follow the gay community, lesbian community, transgender community, and bisexual community. And a lot of those stigmas, you know, are very similar to a lot of the stigmas that follow HIV and AIDS, especially for gay men. You know, gay men stigmas are, you know, dirty or you know, perverts or you know, drug addicts or things like that I've heard, and I heard a lot of the same things that follow HIV and AIDS, and this is all lies. This is all lies that a lot of politicians and individuals, homophobic religious community individuals, are really pushing into people, and I just want to stand up and slap some of those politicians. And that's why I wrote this book. It took me 10 years to write, but it's an interesting story, to say the least. I mean, I had some great help from 2 editors. One of my editors is actually here. John Cardoza is in the audience. Say hi, John. And so basically, the book takes place at a point where HIV as being an illness that kills everyone is ending. And I think we're getting to that point now in an era. HIV and AIDS were very, very close to a cure. Dr. J in San Francisco is doing gene therapy to try to replicate exactly what took place in Berlin recently, where we actually have one person on this earth who has been cured for HIV. And that's just amazing. You know, and they're doing a lot of work on that. But I think we're very far from a cure for homophobia. So what would that cure be? Well, that cure is talking. What we have to do. We have to stand up, be very strong people. We have to be imago, images of what we want people to see us. We can't be giving up on ourselves. We have to be strong and just move on. So before I get started with my couple chapter reading, I wanted to talk about a little bit of my marketing that I've actually dealt with. When I was looking for an editor, I found, I went through Craigslist actually, and found that I got some homophobic responses. And one of the homophobic responses was from somebody, some crazy person, I don't even know where he's at, but he said that, you know, Prop 8, if it gets overturned, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to die. Well, I took that as a death threat. So I contacted the police department, the Walnut Creek Police Department. I had them come out, and the police officer came to the door, and he was really just like, he basically asked me, he's like, well, if you're going to actually ask for this type of support from your community, you're going to get crazies that are going to respond like this. Don't you think you deserve that? And I looked at him and I was like, you know, you're a Chinese police officer, a minority. You too are protected by the same laws that protect us as homosexuals. Do you know that? Are you aware of that? He's like, well, do you understand where I'm coming from? I go, and I looked at him, I go, I can't even conceive where you're coming from. I don't even get it, and I don't want to know. I go, are you going to take a report? Well, I don't really know if I want to take a report on this. I go, listen, I'm a writer, I give presentations, and I know your name. I go, if something happens and this crazy person does anything, I will make sure they know your name. And, you know, needless to say, he took my report. And hopefully he did contact that lunatic. But, you know, besides that, of course, I've dealt with some other forms of homophobia, people leaving bad reviews and whatnot, which I expect, you know. But I think my audience and the readers out there are aware that this type of information is going to be looked at negatively by certain community members. So with that said, let me go ahead and begin with my two-chapter reading of This Shadow Follows Me.